Designers adored her, rock stars fought over her, and world leaders fell at her feet. Before she became the First Lady of France, she was fashion's most elegant heartbreaker. She was tangled in love triangles that shattered marriages and started rumors that still haven't died.
There are certain quotes that have been said about you. Glamorous ambassador, femme fatale, an adulteress.
And a what?
Adulteress.
Oh my God!
I was never adulterous since I never got married.
Well, but you were with men who were married.
So they were adulterers.
Oh my God.
She was a model who brought empires to their knees. Over the course of a decade, Bruni appeared on more than 250 magazine covers, ruled the runways of Versace, Dior, and Chanel, and became a living legend, elusive, and dangerously charming in both elite fashion circles and wealthy political gatherings. She had the kind of beauty that didn't just inspire desire, but obsession so much so that decades later, Bella Hadid walked into a surgeon's office and asked for a new face, not inspired by Kate Moss or Christy Turlington, but by Carla Bruni. This wasn't just a model who changed fashion. This was a woman who rewrote the rules of fame, power, and seduction, and left the world chasing after her shadow. But beyond the flashbulbs, there was always fire. Her whirlwind marriage to Nicolas Sarkozy was called impulsive and reckless. Critics questioned her political statements. British tabloids mocked her past just hours before her first official state visit, reminding the world of her controversial rise. And in 2024, she was formally charged in a corruption scandal, accused of hiding evidence, witness tampering, and even attempting to bribe Lebanese officials. Yet even then, she remained untouchable, unbothered, and still breathtaking. Carla Bruni didn't just survive headlines. She fed on them, rising higher with every whisper. She wasn't merely a model or a first lady, she was a storm in couture, a siren in state dinners, a woman who turned temptation into an art form, and once she passed through your world, nothing was ever quite the same. This is Carla Bruni, the kind of woman history won't create again. Chapter 1. The Beginnings. Born on December 23, 1967, in Turin, Italy, Carla was raised in a family so rich in culture and controversy, even her beginnings sound like a movie script. Her mother, Marisa Barini, was a concert pianist and actress. Her father, Alberto Bruni Tedeschi, was a composer and heir to Seat, the Italian tire empire founded by Carla's grandfather. But secrets lingered in the Bruni household. Decades later, Carla would reveal her biological father wasn't Alberto at all, but Maurizio Remmert, a 19-year-old classical guitarist who had carried on a 6-year affair with her mother. When the family moved to France in the 1970s to escape the growing threat of Italian kidnappings among the elite, Carla was still a child who grew up surrounded by art, elegance, and a certain kind of detachment that often comes with extreme privilege. Their new home in France wasn't just luxurious. It was a grand 17th-century chateau outside Paris, filled with tapestries, antique mirrors, and the quiet hum of classical music echoing through marbled halls. Carla wasn't raised like most children. She was raised like a myth in the making. She studied at boarding schools in Switzerland and later attended art and architecture classes in Paris, but something inside her was already pulling her away from that traditional life path. And then, as if by fate, the right person whispered the right words at the right time. It was her brother Virginio's girlfriend, a model herself, who first planted the idea. She took one look at Carla and said, "You could rule this industry, not you should try, not you might fit in, but rule." That was all it took. Carla, barely 19, dropped out of university as if she already knew the world would soon know her name. Chapter 2. Supermodel Supreme. At 19, she signed with City Models in Paris. Her break came when Paul Marciano, the creative mind behind Guess, saw her photo among a stack of unknowns. Something about her stood out: a sculpted jawline, sleepy blue eyes, and a gaze that felt centuries old. Marciano cast her in a campaign, a move that quietly catapulted Carla into the fashion stratosphere. The ads were sensual without trying, and from there, her ascent was quick and deliberate. By the early 90s, she was walking the same runways as Claudia, Naomi, Cindy, and Linda, the original supermodels who didn't just model clothes, but sold dreams. While the others soaked up the spotlight with dazzling showmanship, Carla played the cool outsider. She was ice in a room of fire. Silent, sultry, untouchable, designers couldn't get enough. Christian Dior, Paco Rabanne, Christian Lacroix, Karl Lagerfeld, Yves Saint Laurent, Chanel, Versace, they all called on Carla. Her presence wasn't overplayed, but unforgettable. She wasn't just working, she was thriving. Carla Bruni became one of the 20 highest-paid models in the world, earning a staggering $7.5 million in her peak year. Her face graced covers of Vogue, Elle, Harper's Bazaar, and Madame Figaro. Photographers adored her. In 1999, she became the living canvas for Joanne Gaer. A 1993 nude photo from her modeling years resurfaced in 2008, selling for over $91,000, more than 60 times its expected price. Unlike other models of the era who built empires from fame, Carla built distance. She let the others fight over covers and campaigns, while she existed somewhere else entirely a little colder, a little cleverer, a lot more untouchable. Because while others were trying to become stars, Carla Bruni was already a galaxy. There were rumors she didn't even enjoy modeling, but make no mistake, she ruled the room. And as always in the fashion world, where beauty is currency and status is war, rivalries were inevitable. Some of the other supermodels didn't get her. She wasn't competitive in the traditional way. While tabloids feasted on itty-bitty catfights and scandals, Bruni moved like a woman who was already full of stories, of secrets, of lovers whose names could break headlines. By the mid-90s, she had become one of the most bankable faces in fashion. But unlike the others, she was already planning her exit. Chapter 3: A Step Away. In the glimmering world of 90s supermodels, Carla Bruni seemed untouchable, elegant, poised and draped in luxury. But beneath the veneer of couture and composed photos was a woman slowly slipping into a cocktail of addictions, heartbreaks, and the haunting loneliness that often comes with being admired by millions, but known by none. It started, innocently enough, with sugar. Carla once confessed that her first addiction was the sweet, syrupy high of Coca-Cola. She didn't drink one or two. She drank 30 to 40 cans a day. Her diet was a shocking testament to the model lifestyle's extremes. No meals, no real food, just sugar. And those famous Pall Mall lozenges, box after box. A desperate attempt to keep her throat soothed and stomach full. But sugar, like every dangerous friend, was just the start. Just a little while later, cigarettes had entered the chat. Then alcohol. And soon after, the tragic powder that takes you to another world, if you get the drift. Though she never spiraled like some of her peers. When it came to stepping her feet away from modeling, it wasn't just burnout, it was the addiction, the anxiety, the gnawing dissatisfaction with a life that looked perfect on camera, but felt hollow once the flashbulbs cooled. Even as the fashion houses lined up to book her and the paychecks grew heavier, Carla found herself increasingly disconnected. The thrill of the runway had worn off, replaced by an unshakable restlessness and a need to chase something deeper, something real. Chapter 4: Passion in the Veins. By the time she turned her back on the runway, Carla Bruni wasn't just closing a chapter, she was burning the whole book, and she was ready to write a new one. She picked up the guitar like it was an old friend she'd left behind in another life. Her biological father, Maurizio Remmert, was a classical guitarist. Music was in her blood. Now it bubbled back to the surface. In 2002, she released her debut album, Someone Told Me. The French loved her, really loved her. The album went triple platinum. Her songs became soundtracks to late-night cafes, solitary train rides, and broken hearts across Europe. And perhaps most importantly, she wasn't just singing songs. She was crafting a new identity. She used her music to hint at her past, Her songs flirted with her reputation, winked at the rumors. It was her way of rewriting the narrative. She had been painted as a man-eater, a seductress, a scandal. But in her lyrics, she was tender. But just when the world was getting used to Carla Bruni, the singer, she transformed again, this time into the most unlikely version of herself yet. Chapter 5. And then came Nicolas Sarkozy, the president of France. Their romance moved at the speed of scandal. Engaged in 3 months, married in 4 at Élysée Palace, France blinked and suddenly had a first lady who had once modeled nude for British GQ. France was stunned. Critics were brutal. They called her inappropriate, too wild, too sensual for a first lady.
A one-time supermodel, and whether it's appropriate that she's the First Lady of France after 2.5 months of a relationship, I doubt it. I wouldn't be very happy if it was Ireland.
But Carla, ever the shapeshifter, leaned in. People couldn't decide if she was France's Jackie Kennedy or its Yoko Ono. Probably both. No scandals, no drama. Just a new chapter written in cleaner lines. In 2011, Carla gave birth to her daughter, Julia. At 43, she was navigating the sharp contrast of being a new mother while holding the title of France's First Lady. Most women would have been reduced to the role, the ceremonial spouse, the quiet political accessory, but Carla never allowed herself to be boxed in. She didn't abandon her music, didn't erase her past, and didn't transform into someone she wasn't. What followed were years of quiet evolution. She continued to write and perform music on her own terms, occasionally appeared in magazines, and attended events with her characteristic blend of grace and detachment. Carla's identity was no longer dependent on fashion, fame, or even politics. She was a mother raising 2 children in different worlds, a partner in a high-profile marriage, and a woman steadily carving out a private life that didn't need to be shared or explained. Her proximity to power brought fresh controversy, from allegations of soft diplomacy to scrutiny over her influence during Sarkozy's presidency. Political scandals involving her husband inevitably dragged her name into headlines she never asked for. Yet once again, she remained distant, unmoved. It's as if Carla Bruni had learned early on, in a world obsessed with decoding women, silence is sometimes the most powerful response. Chapter 6. A legend more than the controversies, more than the career pivots or love stories. What truly defined Carla in the end was her ability to walk away. From the runway, from the industry, from narratives she had outgrown, and from public expectations that never quite fit her. There was a quiet strength in her exits, a refusal to perform forever. Today, she has lived enough lives to fill 100 profiles. She appears when she wants to, speaks only when she has something to say, and leaves before she is asked to explain herself. And perhaps that's why she still lingers in the memory. This is Carla Bruni, the kind of woman history doesn't make often.